folks here and people out there who are voting, we have a representative republic, a representative form of government for a reason. And that's so that the people will pick the representatives and send people to Washington who will protect our environment, protect our future, protect our citizens, and make America a better place, and give us an America that we can live in and breathe in and drink the water and live the American dream. It is that simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Hildebrand.
Great question. Over 10, 12 years ago, this was a big issue for me. I could see that things were heating up. This is a question that's not put in, that's not factored in. Earlier I talked about weather modification. See those lines that planes leave now? You don't see those prior to 1995. You might be able to show me some old World War II black and white footage. Okay, so they left some things occasionally. But look, this is not jet fuel exhaust. Jet fuel, when you see a vapor trail, that vapor trail leaves right after the plane. Every one of these planes that you see that leaves a line all the way across the sky, you look on your little ID and it's going to say that they don't know who it is. There's a big program, this is probably being done to block the sun's rays, and it's not being factored into the equation because it's not being talked about, which is crazy because it's happening. Chemtrails are real. You will not see crisscross lines. You can look up, you can Google some pictures. I said some cloud formations that you may not have seen. I have X clouds, star clouds, asterisk clouds, all kinds of things that you never saw before and that don't exist in nature. That's because they're tinkering with our atmosphere. And they've been doing it for a long time. When I first met Noam, I said, look at Noam, look at what W said. He said, we haven't figured out how to control the weather yet. And we both had a big chuckle. Well, the laugh was on us. Because I found a 1972 issue of National Geographic entitled, We're Doing Something About the Weather. And that's the first time I saw one of those trails. And in that article, they admitted that they could see it in the eye of a hurricane and it would slow its winds by 30%. Now, how come that wasn't done with Katrina? And how come that wasn't done with Sandy?
Thank you. Candidate Jones.
Yes, the biggest problem with climate change is that we don't control it. The United States just doesn't control most of it. India and China have the greatest greenhouse gas emissions, and their economies are cooking. So how do we tell them, you have to slow down? We know your economies are doing great, your people are coming out of poverty, you're selling your goods all over the world, but it's time for you to stop because of this problem of climate change. The biggest problem we're going to have is getting other countries to agree with us and go along with us. We've been harming the environment for 100 years in this country. China and India just the last 20, 25 years. They're not going to be open to us telling them to stop. We got ours, but you can't get yours. So I don't know how you fix that, but that's the only way it's going to get fixed.
Thank you. Candidate Gahn.
Kyoto is that's the key to this. But here's the other thing that I didn't say in my initial statements that I will say and take this opportunity to talk about this. 1979, I watched Jimmy Carter come on television and say that by the year 2000 we would have 20% solar, and that we would have a solar bank. Well, by the year 2000 we were at 3% solar. We've just now gotten to 20% in 2014. So we're way behind the 8 ball on renewable energy. We can bring down the deficit by creating clean energy jobs and initiatives. We can create wind, offshore wind, solar panels on every household would solve a bunch of problems in this country. So what's holding us up? Again, it's the multinational energy companies. A lot of them aren't even doing business in America anymore, or they're putting all their money into offshore tax havens, and they're not even It's expatriating. It's un-American what they're doing. So yes, as Paul points out, there's a problem in China and India, but we're supposed to be the leader here. So let's set an example by getting to a point where we can get on renewable energies for wind, solar, all the above, and get away from this constant addiction to foreign oil and burning fossil fuels, and we've got to stop this madness.
Thank you. And now an opportunity for a response, candidate Hildebrand.
Okay, great. Again, industrial hemp. I mean, that's the thing, that what you do is, sure, it has to combust, but you eat up more CO2 in the process of photosynthesis. So that's your answer. We should be growing our own oil. Why aren't we doing that? That's in complete insanity that we're not doing this. You know, and I remember I asked Ralph Nader this back in 2004, and he said, it would be nice if the two candidates talked about the multi-billion-dollar crop that would advance our national security by reducing our reliance on foreign oil. Thank you. Well, make it a little more real, Ralph, okay? That's big, reducing your reliance on foreign oil. That is so huge. And also, as my wife Elaine has discovered in research, that, remember she's running in the 6th, electelaine.com, that you could even make the panels of the cars out of hemp and it will help eat up CO2. Come on, we got problems. But we also need to investigate what is this huge aerial operation going on over our heads that we can't even ask about, because Kucinich put it in the National Security Act of 2001, and then he took it off and updated the bill in 2002, and then he was going to meet up with me, and presumably that's why he backed out, because somebody cried national security. That's the only thing I know that can trump free speech.
Thank you. Candidate Jones.
Yes, I think whatever research we do in this country for alternative sources of energy, wind, solar, etc., I don't think it should be a function of the federal government to finance that research. They pick and choose what industries they favor while leaving out other industries. Take the case of Solyndra, where the American taxpayers lost $500 million thereabouts when that company collapsed, because the federal government chose one industry and one company in that industry was their favorite, and the taxpayers took all the risk and we lost. And Solyndra, the only thing that could happen to them was if they'd made money, the money was theirs. They get the reward, we always take the risk. And I don't think the government should get involved in financing research. I think that's up to the individual companies. Free enterprise, open markets, capitalism, I think that would solve a lot of our problems.
Thank you. Candidate Gahn.
I just want to touch on the fact that my opponent is not here. My Republican opponent is not here. The incumbent is not here. What we have are basically three independent-minded people up here who are really working hard. I mean, I've dedicated my entire life to this campaign because I believe that we together, working together, can solve these problems. Now, government cannot be the answer to all of our problems, and I agree with Paul Jones on that. But as Bill Clinton said, it can sure solve some of them. So we can incentivize companies to do a better job of promoting renewable energy, and we're not doing that right now. Government is really working great for the 1%, as I said before. And the 1%, the Koch brothers, those two brothers' net worth is more than the bottom 40% of our entire country combined. They have no interest in renewable energy. They have no interest in getting me elected. They have a vested interest in keeping Robert Hurt in office for another 2 years, and then 2 years after that, and 2 years after that. That's what's going on here, folks. So I want to, commend Mr. Hildebrand and Mr. Jones for being here, for fighting the fight, and I'm doing the same thing. We're all trying to get something going on here that will change things in Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. And this will be our final question from the audience. And it is this. Roughly 53% of federal discretionary spending goes to militarism. How much should be spent there? And we'll start with candidate Jones.
Yeah, everything is discretionary spending. All of our spending is discretionary. Just because a politician sets some aside and say, you can't touch this, doesn't mean you can't touch that. That's just what they want to do. I would cut our defense spending in half right away. We have no business fighting wars in the Mideast. We have no business stationing troops around the world. We learned nothing from Vietnam, evidently. We've been in an even longer war now in the Mideast. And under the Constitution, the government was to defend us against aggression. And I don't think it would take a lot of money to defend us. We could defend our country against foreign aggression with half the budget that the Defense Department is using. Who is going to come over and attack us? I mean, it's just ludicrous to worry about that. The reason they spend so much is we're over there all the time. I think these wars have gone on too long. You think of the young people that have been killed in them, not just our soldiers, but the young kids, you know, the Arab kids and the Israeli kids and the kids all over the world. And it's insanity. It's insanity. Nobody ever wins a war, and we've got to stop. The Libertarian Party is called it's a principle of non-aggression. We're not aggressive people. Our country should not be aggressive toward any other country. We can defend ourselves. If you've seen that Libertarian logo, the unofficial one, it's a little red, white, and blue porcupine. That's our symbol, because they don't bother anybody, but you don't bother them either.
Thank you. Candidate Gahn.
Yeah, I actually agree basically 100% with Paul Jones on this, and unlike the incumbent. The incumbent would say that we need to, well, look what he did. He voted on a bill that would authorize funding for an additional incursion into Iraq that was put on the floor by Barbara Lee. And he voted for it. So if we want to go back to Iraq, he's voted for the funding. Because of, so, yeah, here's the thing that I used to tell people is that it's actually, I mean, if you break it down, every taxpayer, every person who works at a Starbucks, 33 cents of every dollar that they make is going to the federal government. A dime, or even more, 11 cents or 12 cents of that dollar is going directly to defense. And it's not defense. We have a Department of Offense. And this is coming from General Douglas, who ran last time. He told me this in his house, that he thinks we should call it the Department of Offense if they keep spending like this. So yes, we've got a plan that identifies $1 trillion in defense cuts that we could make immediately that would not hurt any of our soldiers, any of our active duty personnel. We have former Congressman Tom Perriello is currently working with the President on a 5-year program to try to reduce or find ways that we can cut some of our spending on overseas bases so that we can limit some of this activity and really focus on our constitutional mandate to protect our security here at home. So I agree with Paul Jones on this, and it's contrary to anything and everything that my Republican incumbent opponent believes.
Thank you. Candidate Hildebrand.
Okay, the military-industrial complex, Eisenhower warned. He said we must guard against the acquisition of power, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. He was well aware of the UFO issue, and he knew how things with the military-industrial complex were getting out of hand. Let me explain how some of this relates. There have been reports of downed craft. You can hear the ABC Roswell broadcast. And by the way, Roswell was the base for the 509th. They're the ones who bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So don't think these things over here. They have a lot of interest in nukes, these lights. Like it's shutting them down and this and that. But now, a Colonel Philip Corso, who used to be head of foreign technology at the Pentagon. He said he got the Roswell file and had a lot of stuff in there on things that we were working on. And he said that he took that information and freely gave it to industry for them to make a profit back to us. He didn't realize that, but I mean, he was like, oh, good, you know, they're giving it back to the population. Well, again, because of that secret government thing, we don't hear about that technology or anything like that. So again, and also I want to bring up about this military spending is that, like, when we give aid, this is before Egypt was overthrown, when we gave aid to them, it was contingent that they buy $3 billion worth of our hardware from us. That's usually, this whole notion of us giving all this money away is a bunch of malarkey. You know, all the countries agreed to give, I think it was 0.7 of their gross domestic product to foreign aid. This is like in the 70s, and like, I don't think anybody met it. So we're not giving it away. It's going to the military industrial complex, the profiteers. It's got to stop. It's out of hand.
Thank you. Chance for a response from candidate Jones.
Yes, the only thing I've got to add, I guess, is that if we were to cut the defense budget in half, I've read that it would put about $1,000 in every taxpayer's pocket. And $1,000, you know, just for defense spending. Of course, I'm for cutting a lot of other spending too. But it has a distinct advantage of putting more money in the people's pockets, and the more money they have, the more money they can invest or save, and that helps the economy. Our war machine does not help the economy.
Thank you. Candidate Gahn.
You know, I always reflect on Eisenhower's sage advice, beware the buildup of the military industrial complex. And he said that when he was going out of office in 1960. Now, I have the support of a lot of veterans because I am not the incumbent who voted for the Ryan budget that decimates veterans funding. So I'm supporting people who are active duty, active military, veterans, retired employees, but I am not going to continue to support this type of top 1% military industry system where money is going out of the pockets, as I said, 10 to 12 cents. Every dollar that somebody makes when they're working at a coffee shop is going, and it doesn't go into the pockets of our soldiers. It goes to CEOs of military industry companies that get $400 million bonuses at the end of the year for how many tanks they sell, or how many airplanes they sell, or bombs they sell. So I am a Democrat who is an anti-war Democrat, and I believe that we have now become the party that's against this business. We need to end business as usual because, let's face it, people are sick and tired of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Hildebrand.
Okay. Once again, I mean, the military, we really need to look at where our funding is going, how it's being wasted. Why is everything secret? We have F-16s flying over our house. I mean, at tree level. They fly a lot, they experiment a lot in our area. They're trying to scare us, it sure hasn't worked. But, you know, we don't even know what we're acquiring technologically. Everything's become so secretive. So I think that, of course, the military spending needs to be cut. The companies need to stop being given tax subsidy. I mean, basically, you know, tax breaks where we end up subsidizing them. That's really out of hand. You know, we need to figure out, not that our enemies are in Washington right now. We've lost control of our situation. Okay? We're not alone in the universe, and we're on this planet spinning through space, and we're allowing people in Washington at the height of the information age to not stand for us. I don't care whether you're with me on the ET issue, or whether you're going to look into it or not. Bottom line, you agree, we could revert the tax structure back to what it was. We could stop outlawing plants, and we could grow our own energy.
Thank you. That is the end of our questions. We're now going to have closing statements, a 2-minute statement by each candidate on their legislative priorities if elected. Based on our drawing held earlier this evening, our first speaker will be candidate Jones.
Like most of you, I voted for Democrats and Republicans for many years. Every election, they would promise that if we voted for them, everything would get better. You hear it every election. Well, nothing ever gets better. Government keeps growing and it keeps getting more expensive. That's why I'm a libertarian. The Libertarian Party is the party of principle. Libertarians believe in a smaller government, less taxes, personal liberty and responsibility, privacy and property rights. We believe our government should abide by the Constitution just like the founders intended. We believe the best way to grow our economy is to get the government out of our way and out of our wallets. I promise to help put a stop to the illegal eavesdropping and the collection of emails that our government does every day to its citizens. Every day, under the Republicans and Democrats, our freedoms erode. We must stop it. I will always vote against any effort to raise your taxes or to increase government spending. Our government never has enough money. It always grows, it never shrinks. It is our job as citizens to contain and control our government. Elected office was meant to be filled with citizens, not career politicians. Men were supposed to serve a term or two and then go home and take care of their business. Our founders did not foresee the advent of the professional politician who served 20, 30, 40 years and more. I'm a concerned citizen. I want to help my country and I want to help my grandchildren. It's unfair and immoral to saddle them with debt for money we spend that they get no benefit from. By paying off our debts and ending our foreign wars, we can lower our taxes and we can grow business. We can have better schools and grow the economy. And that's good for everyone. I ask you to join me in bringing new leadership to our government, leadership that is frank and open and honest.
Thank you so much. And now, candidate Gahn.
Well, I just want to start by saying there are 4 candidates in this race, and one of them is not here. You know what? I am a Democrat. I'm proud to have the Democratic nomination, but I'm not a status quo Democrat. I'm running because people are sick and tired of business as usual, and I am too. And that's why I think that I can make some change within my party and within the entire system as a whole. So here's what I propose. Now, this is the United States of America, and we know we've been through challenges and we can do better. So, using techniques of mediation rather than instigating, I will work to close corporate tax loopholes on companies that are shipping jobs overseas so that we can finally end this business of shipping our good paying jobs overseas. I will work to raise the minimum wage. I will work to pass comprehensive immigration reform. I will get past partisanship and gridlock and pass equal pay for women, renewed voting rights. I will work on cutting the defense budget, and I will work to reduce our debt by supporting working people like myself, even if it means asking billionaires and big corporations who benefit the most from our system to pay a little bit more of their fair share. When I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that I am the only native Virginian, the only native of the 5th District, and the only candidate who best represents the best interests of all the people of our district, I think you will believe that what I say is true, and you will come out and vote for me on November 4th if you have not already voted. And I want to just finish by saying that it is an honor and a privilege to be here today with both of these fine gentlemen, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you. And now, candidate Hildebrand.
Okay, this is a very important time of all of our lives. Dr. Edgar Mitchell said, this is at the second to last quote of topconcern.com. We're at a tipping point, a bifurcation point, and it's not clear which way it's going to go. But we are the ones who are going to determine which way it's going to go, and it's up to us. And if we let Robert Hurt win another election, I think all of us need to feel deep shame, even me, okay? Because to allow a monster to buy his way in again is just lunacy.